Anthony, I want to ask you this, and we'll go around. We'll go Anthony, Chris, Adriana this time. Do you think that Brian Daboll is a bad play caller, or do you think that Daniel Jones limits Brian Daboll as to what he can do as a play caller?
I think Daniel Jones limits everything he wants to do as a play caller, but I also think he has a similar problem to Daniel Jones in the fact that he's inconsistent, because we do see games where Brian Daboll looks like Brian Daboll from the Buffalo Bills, and then we see games where Brian Daboll looks like Mike Kafka from the New York Giants. So it's hard to differentiate what the real problem is on a down-to-down basis for this team. And I mean, the point about the running attack in this game is the best point to make. Like, why are we not running the football? Why are we trying to drop Daniel Jones back with that offensive line, Andrew Thomas out of lineup? That just doesn't make sense. And to Chris's point about him saying that he was outcoached, the worst part about Brian Daboll sitting in those post-game press conferences and saying that he got outcoached is that every time he says it, he's right. That's the worst part. It's not like he's just saying, oh, I was outcoached, and he's just trying to take the blame away from somebody. He truly is being outcoached. He's actually correct in his assessment, not just trying to take the blame away from somebody else.
He's trying to take heat away off the players.
Exactly. He's not protecting anybody. He's being honest, and he's correct in his assessment. That's the worst part about it. So I like Brian Daboll. I agree. I think we all agree he should still be here next year rather. But on a week-to-week basis, we just don't know what we're getting with him, whether it be the decision not to bring up a kicker against the Commanders, whether it be the decision not to run the ball against the Eagles. Like, there's always something that he does that just makes you scratch your head. Kicking on third down, right? He kicked a field goal on third down this week when we totally could have taken a shot at the end zone at the end of the first half. Like, there's just always these random moments that don't add up. And it's like, I know that on his coaching staff, if you go on the website, he has guys in place, these little game manager type positions on the sideline that are supposed to prevent him from making these mistakes. And then it kind of makes you think, all right, well, last year we heard about how he ran all these meetings, took over other coaches' meetings, and didn't listen to any of their feedback. So you just add it all together, and it makes you think that sometimes his head is just not in the game, and he's just too emotional. And to his point, or to his credit, rather, in the offseason, he said that he was going to have less temper tantrums on the sideline. I think he's done a good job of that. He's kept his temper in check for the most part. But even still, he's making just mistakes, just brain fart mistakes. And there's no explanation as to why they keep happening. But at the end of the day, he is getting outcoached almost on a week-to-week basis. His great performances are few and far between, just like Daniel Jones. So, while Daniel Jones is the biggest problem with this offense, there are other problems. And Brian Daboll is not exonerated from any of these problems.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm throwing the temper tantrums for him. Don't worry. I got that under control. Chris, go ahead.
I don't want to come out too strong against Daboll because, like you said, Anthony, and like I said earlier, I want him back. I want stability with this organization. But at the end of the day, quarterback aside, we all know Daniel Jones sucks. We all know the New York Giants need to replace the quarterback by year's end. That's obvious. I look around. I look at the coach we're going up against this week. I look at Mike Tomlin. Every single year, that guy has that team over 500. It doesn't matter who's that quarterback. He's got Mason Rudolph at quarterback one year. They win 9-10 games every single year. Brian Daboll's team doesn't look prepared. Brian Daboll's team is being outcoached. So I think it is very fair at this junction this year to be critical of Brian Daboll. I do not like overall the job he's done as a head coach with the New York Giants. Do I think there's been some good? Absolutely. I think his play calling actually weeks 2 to 4 or 5 overall was good. I think he did a good job with the play calling, but there are certain things he's done from within these games. And like I said, the lack of running the football in the first half these last 2 weeks, some of his planning just doesn't add up to me. The kicker was a huge thing. Like Anthony said, week 2, got to be fair. He has not done a good job so far this year.
Adriana, what do you think?
I agree 100% with what you guys said. And the Joshua Zudu thing is one of the things that really drives me up a wall with him, because I don't understand the forcing the square peg into the round hole. And again, it's like when you're supposed to be this offensive minded genius, and I understand that he's not working with the best roster in the league. I get it. But if Daniel Jones is so much of an issue, which he obviously is, and we have 2 other quarterbacks on the roster, make a change at this point. It's going to save your job. If you can get him to throw a touchdown pass at home, you're immediately in a better place. Whether it's DeVito or Locke, no one cares. Just give one of them a shot. And again, put your players in a position to succeed. Them forcing Ezeudu, who is a guard, to be a left tackle is not putting him in a position to succeed. They can only do so much with Daniel Jones. I get that. And I don't know if Mara is saying to him, we're paying him $40 million a year. You have to play him until the bye or whatever. I don't know what the problem is there. I don't know why. I'm like kind of agree that maybe he gives us the best chance to win. But then again, after the last 6 weeks, I'm like, I don't know how you could look at that.
Let's put it this way. If he does, it's not by much. And that's a major problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, like they're all, to me, they're all kind of the same caliber quarterback. But I like what Anthony says, like we've seen enough of Jones at this point. Like he's not all of a sudden going to be better, regardless of what happens with the offensive line. He wasn't that much better with Andrew Thomas in against the Bengals. So, it's just so frustrating. And I get really pissed that I feel like Daboll makes the same mistakes over and over again. And he's so stubborn about it, where I'm like, where are his advisors saying to him, like, enough is enough with Ezeudu? He very clearly is not a tackle. You signed Chris Hubbard, start him at left tackle. Is Evan Neal, like, I just have a really hard time believing that Evan Neal is that much worse than Ezeudu at left tackle. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I know that he's been getting right tackle snaps. Move his ass to left tackle. Just try it.
That's my biggest,
goes down, then what?
That's my biggest issue too. Is you can't use that as a built-in excuse with Evan Neal. Like I could get
left tackle at Alabama. Give him a shot. He was
He actually played tackle and been good at it.
I can at least get a small argument if the argument was, well, we don't want to move him from the right side because that's where we projected he's going to grow into. Jermaine Illuminor is staying with this football team. The way that he's playing, you're keeping him. So you can't use that excuse. He's not your future right tackle because Jermaine Illuminor is. So play him on the left side. We all know Josh Ezeudu was not projected to be a tackle at the NFL level. He was drafted to be a guard with some tackle versatility based on his build, but he doesn't belong there. Evan Neal was drafted to play that position. I'm done with Ezeudu. I've seen enough of Ezeudu. Let Evan Neal see if he could grow under what we thought was an improved offensive line coach.
And why do you make Neal the swing tackle? Why does Ezeudu have to be the swing tackle? A guy who's literally never played tackle until he got here. And we saw almost a full year out of him, and it was god-awful. And I know they have a new coach. The guy's not a magician, okay? He's not turning him into a rabbit. Like, you have to, at this point, enough is enough. You
he blocked like a rabbit.
And move Ezeudu. Move Neal to left tackle. He's actually played the position before. I just can't understand why they can't give him reps at both sides.
Yeah, I don't either. You saw Ezeudu immediately in that game getting beat. Immediately. Yes. Like, it wasn't like, he had a couple of like immediately. It's like the Eagles saw that and attacked it. They like, that's a weakness. Go at it right away. And they did, and they made it look bad. And then the whole line collapsed because obviously left tackle is supposed to be your anchor. And to you guys' point, I don't understand why they don't try Evan Neal. He can't be worse. You did draft him, and he did play tackle. He did play left tackle. And he played left tackle well. This is why he was a top 10 pick. There must be some kind of talent there. And if he ends up being good at left tackle, well, then maybe you have your swing tackle at that point. Maybe you trade him. Who the hell knows? To Anthony's point, Anthony, I think you made a great point about Brian Daboll. I agree, and I never thought about it before. His play calling is inconsistent. And to you guys' point, why the hell don't we run the ball, especially last week when you saw Ezeudu get crushed? And this is after Tyrone Tracy comes off a game where he had 18 carries for 129 yards. Thinking, look at this kid. He got, we have a kid that can actually play at the NFL level and even started this week over Devin Singletary. I didn't even know Devin Singletary was active because they started Tyrone Tracy. I was actually surprised. But how do you only run him combined 7 times in the last 2 games of the first half?
7 or 8 first half carries. That's
insane. Doesn't make sense. And Daniel Jones has more carries than the running backs. Make it make sense, Brian Daboll.